Something that I have been teaching lately in my yoga classes are about the qualities of the mind. And it's important to notice the qualities of the mind because these influence thoughts, words, deeds, and actions, but they influence how I act in the world, they influence how I interact in the world, they influence how I react in the world. And so the more aware that I am of the state of the quality of my mind, the more I can make choices that are most appropriate to me in that moment. And right action is all about yoga, right action in each moment. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna teaches the warrior Arjuna about these three qualities. And they are sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. And so sattvic, if you would think of it, this is a quality that we want to nurture, create, and cultivate, and yet too much sattvic is not where we want to be. So we want an interaction between the three. And sattvic can be thought of as the cool surface of a pond. It's not moving so much. The sunlight is shimmering off of it. And there's a lily pad that floats on top of it with the lotus flower shining up towards the sun. And beneath the surface is Rajasek. That's movement and flow. And so if you think of that lily pad, it's sending its stem all the way down through that flow, through the movement. And so Rajasek is movement and flow, and we need that. We need to move in our lives, but we don't need too much of it, or else the current will sweep us away. That's that place of overwhelm. The third quality is called tamasic, and so that lily pad sending its stem all the way down puts its roots down in the mud. The mud is where all the dirt, all the movement has filtered down, and now it's down there, it's settled, it's grounded. It's a quality of sleep. And when it's out of balance, it's a quality of stuckness or even depression. And so all of these qualities need to be there. We need tamasic so we can rest and so we can sleep. But it can also be that place of stuckness or ignorance. I don't want to know. I don't want to look at it. We also need rajasic. We need action. We need the rajas to dig down into that stuckness and start bringing it up and bringing us back into action. And yet too much of that rajas, and we can't see clearly. We can't think clearly. The water is full of mud and silt and sand and things floating around. And so we want to work through all of these qualities to attain that sattvic state. And yet we can't constantly live in that sattvic state. So it's important to recognize all three. And I just want to say that this is not so unlike some theories of modern neuroscience. The polyvagal theory is what is exploring or examining basically three states. And so in where the gunas are three states of mind, the polyvagal theory explores the vagus nerve and the three states of the nervous system. And so we can talk about that sattvic, that clear, cool, that's the place where we're able to connect with others. And that is called ventral vagal. And so we want to maintain that state of ventral vagal, and yet we can't hold it all the time. And then that place of rest and digest, that place that's so familiar when we talk about the nervous system in fight or flight, rest and digest, that one is the tamasic state. That one is called dorsal vagal. And we need that as well. And yet we don't want to go too far into dorsal vagal. That is that state of collapse, or even that state that animals go into of feigning death. And then what we also have is sympathetic arousal. In the more extreme side, this is fight or flight, but sympathetic arousal is simply excitement. Yeah, yay, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm happy to be here. That's sympathetic arousal, just a little bit, just enough. And so if you think of it, we're always fluctuating up and down between these three states. Whether you think of polyvagal theory or whether you think of the gunas, they're very similar. They're very closely linked in terms of the theory behind them and how they influence our actions, how they influence our thoughts, how they influence our words, how they influence our interactions with other people. And so I wanted to share that with you because through yoga, we gain tools to understand these 3 different states. 1, to be with them, to accept that they're there, and 2, to affect them. And so we can go into meditation, we can go into breath work. There are so many techniques that we can use to, when we're in a low or a stuck state, we can bring ourselves back up into sympathetic arousal so we can find that homeostasis, that place in the middle, that sattvic or that ventral vagal state. And if we go into yoga philosophy, yogaschita vritti nirodha, yoga is the resolution of the problematic mind stuff. Yoga is the resolution of the problematic mind stuff. No 3 of these states that I've mentioned are bad in and of themselves, but it becomes problematic when it's in overabundance. So when we're in dorsal vagal, heading towards stuck, tamasic, we need movement to start bringing us back up, to take us into action. When we're in Rajasek, to that extreme sympathetic arousal where anxiety and fear starts to set in, that anxiety and fear that rises too high leads to collapse. And so we need both of these so that we can find homeostasis. The practice of yoga offers so much to maintain that place so that my actions, my reactions, my interactions are as clear and effective and efficient as they can be. Thank you for watching once again.